And away we go. It is the BCJ podcast brought to you by the Holy Grail right here on BearcatJournal.com. It is baseball season, so make sure you're getting down to visit our friends at the Holy Grail down at the Banks right across from Great American Ballpark. They will get you taken care of. Cold drinks, great food, and just an awesome atmosphere in downtown Cincinnati right at the Banks. So make sure while you're down there, whether you're taking in a Reds game or for a concert or whatever it may be, stop by and visit our friends at the Holy Grail. All right, Dave. Well, we got a lot to talk about tonight, I guess.
I guess so.
We've got obviously a crap ton of football recruiting. We've got spring football. We got all kinds of stuff to get to. Where would you like to start?
Your choice. I'm open for whatever.
Our energy is just great to get the
Yeah.
show started.
Well, I have to get up in 5 hours, 6 hours.
Oh,
so.
I mean, yeah, but you're going to Vegas. Like, I don't. You don't get to whine about that.
I'm not. I'm
like, if you had to get up in 5 hours to work, okay, maybe.
True, but let's just go. Let's go. Spring football.
All right, you
kind of put a bow on that.
You did get a chance to come to a practice before the spring game, and then you were one of the many members of the Bearcat Journal crew that had a chance to take in the spring game while I was being volleyball dad. So I will start with your overall thoughts. What did you walk away thinking as we closed out the spring? I know you and Aaron covered some of this on the nightcap, the night of the spring game. But you and I have not had these discussions yet.
Let's see. It felt, and granted they didn't start it. They said it was going to start at noon. It obviously didn't start at noon, but I think it was over at like 2:15. It went very briskly,
which has kind of been the theme for Satterfield throughout. Yeah. Like, they don't waste any. There's no wasted motion, I guess is a good way to put it.
I appreciated it because I had monster trucks to get to. So
how were the monster trucks?
Oh, they were loud.
Yeah. Monsters are loud, Dave. That's part of being a monster.
Yeah, but no, I think and Aaron and I talked about it, and I don't even remember what we talked about at this point, but I think I was pleasantly surprised with the offense. Admittedly, I went into the spring game not expecting a ton. I had concerns on how many touchdowns they would score on like full field drills, not working inside the red zone or stuff like that, and they had several. Right. And none of them were off of big runs. I guess that's the other surprising thing, was that the running game, I wouldn't call it bad, but it wasn't explosive. There weren't any 40, 50, any huge chunk plays.
There weren't any home runs
in the run game. So the defense kind of did what I expected. Only one interception in a spring game is fairly low as well when you have 100 plays, 125 plays, something in that range. That
Coach it wasn't Jordan Young. Shocking.
Yeah. But I think looking at it more big picture, not so much about like what happened in that game. I mean, I know Coach talked about the running backs and running back by committee. I think that's a position I'm just interested in because I think it is pretty deep, and I just think it's going to come down to who acclimates themselves to the offense the quickest and who has that vision. Because before the previous run, whatever, it was kind of just like banging your head against a wall. This, you're going to have to be able to read the offensive lineman, read the defense, and who has that vision to know when to kind of cut, when to keep stretching it out, when to cut it up, when to, those type of plays. I think the vision and feel and nuance to being a running back in this offense, I think, is greater than it has been in the past. So it'll be interesting to see who kind of takes that bull by the horns and solidifies themselves in the fall, because I don't think anybody really necessarily separated themselves in the spring to say, like,
but in a good way.
Right. Oh, I'm not right. It wasn't that everybody was bad. I just don't think that there was anybody that was like, I showed you that you need to give me whatever the number is, 15, 20 carries a game.
You did have a lot of guys that had really good springs, though. Like, pretty much Miles, Corey was solid. Monty, once he got healthy and got rolling, he was good. I thought Ethan Wright had a really good spring. Manny Covey still needs to add some pounds, but he had a couple runs. Stephen Bird looked like he could be, like, kind of one of those in between the tackles. Like, it's funny because this offense, it's backwards, right? Mm-hmm. Like the between the tackles guy is your change of pace guy.
Right. Yeah, like your main guys are trying to get to the outside, make a cut, and go. And, your change of pace is the 3 yards in a cloud of dust, get the first down type.
Right.
Style.
Your change of pace is 3rd and 1 instead of like 3rd and 7 being your change of pace, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Barry Jackson, again, I mean, I know it's been talked about, but he was impressive the practice I was at. He was impressive Saturday. I mean, I don't think there's any way, given the circumstances, unless they change greatly, and I'm sure they will. They're going to try to add bodies, but, he's already got a leg up on those guys. He's been here. He understands the offense, and he's performed. And
he's come on. I mean, like, he improved drastically over the back half of the spring.
Yeah.
He was kind of just a guy, like, how freshmen are. They're learning. Their head is spinning.
Oh, yeah.
But over the final 4 or 5 practices, he was consistently like, okay, like, this kid's starting to get it and starting to make an impact every day. And then, like you guys said, apparently he had a fantastic spring game.
Yeah, he was good.
Sorry,
Sterling Burkhalter was good at the wide receiver spot. They definitely, threw the ball to the tight end a decent amount in the scrimmage. I don't know. It's hard to, Aaron and I talked about it. You guys touched on it a ton Monday. I'm trying not to be uber redundant and say things that have basically already been said. Defensively, like, I still think they're going to be pretty good. I'm Greshik hopefully is that guy that he was and more last year. I still have some concern. Jamal Williams, I definitely want to give some credit to. He played very well. He almost had 2 interceptions. Had one. Almost had a second. I shouldn't say almost had 2. That makes it sound like he didn't have any.
Correct.
But they still, to me, like, you look at Louisville last year, and they've got 2 guys, Yaya Diaby, and then the other guy's name I'm not gonna remember. But they have 2 guys that are kind of in that took advantage of that defense last year that are now. I mean, Diaby is probably a day 2 pick. The other guys, I'm still waiting to see who can we count on to be the rush guy. Who can we count on to?
You don't think it'll be Greshik?
Yeah, well, him and who else?
Okay.
That's my question. It's him and who else?
Yeah.
Just because, yes, you can blitz and you can and send these pressure packages, but you also do need to be able to create pressure with whatever kind of your base defense is, or else you're going to get picked apart because teams will start, calling plays and doing what they need to do, knowing when you're, unless you're just going to do that every single play. And I don't think they'll do that.
Yeah.
that is even a little bit much for me. But who's that guy?
What was the old saying when he got here?
Third and Tenuta.
Third and Tenuta, yeah. The blitz is coming. Third and Tenuta.
It didn't matter. I remember that Virginia was beating Notre Dame, and it was like fourth and 15 plus, and he just sent the house, and they just threw it right over their head for like a game-winning touch. It's like, what? You don't have to blitz on every play.
Well, here's something interesting for you, Dave. We'll get to learn more about that next week on this show.
Oh, we will. Nice.
Yeah. Defensive coordinator Brian Brown.
That's what we in the industry like to call a tease.
You want another tease?
Sure.
I was texting with a friend last night.
Yeah.
And that friend, who just might be one half of the biggest sports podcast on the planet, said he will join us this summer. Here.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know. You just stole my thunder a little bit.
I'm sorry. It sounded like a bomb went off outside my house or inside my house. I don't know.
One half of the biggest sports podcast on the planet has agreed to come on at some point this summer.
Well, one half. I guess we'll find out which half that is.
I mean, it's easy which half. It's easy which half. The other half doesn't answer his phone. And it might not be the one you think. I was joking with Jason.
When you say the easy part, then I would have guessed one thing. But when you say he doesn't answer his phone, then now I'm guessing another part.
Jason, I text with Jason regularly. Travis is Travis doesn't return texts.
Oh, I figured Jason didn't.
For the long time he didn't. I guess now that he's an internet celebrity,
yeah,
he's on his phone a lot more. But I joked with him. If you watched the live nightcap last night, I joked with them. They had talked during the season about having Sauce on.
Yeah.
So I sent Jason Sauce's number. Just said, hey, here's how you can get in touch with him. So last night I texted him and I was like, look, I don't know if I had anything to do with it or not, but I'm taking credit for you guys having Sauce on. And he was laughing.
You should.
Yeah. And he was laughing and I was like, we're just going to have to live vicariously through the show that they posted today because you three are too big time to join our little old podcast. And he said, I'll come on. And I said, I'm going to hold you to that. You're going to come on if you tell me you're going to come on. So at some point between now and, training camp, Jason Kelsey will be on this podcast.
All right. Well, I can't wait.
Pretty excited about that. Pretty excited. I'm excited about Brian Brown next week too. Yes. But when we do those shows, I just turn it over to you and let you talk ball.
Right. Let's see what else. Anything else from the spring game? It's a solid crowd.
Jamal Williams. What'd you think of Jamal Williams?
He was good.
Talked about having that second guy.
Yeah, you can tell me I'm wrong. He seems to have the potential to be that person. I just don't know how much pure pass rush we're gonna get, even in a new scheme. We kind of know what Malik, Juwan, Dante do.
Well, yeah, this is look, Dave. I've said this, and now you've seen it a couple times. I'm interested in your thoughts. This is almost old school traditional 3-4.
Yes, it is. They move the pieces around a little bit different. They call them a little bit different things.
Yeah, they name them different, but ultimately it's 3 run-stopping, big physical down linemen, including a massive, unmovable nose tackle, and then a pass rushing linebacker, on the weak side and a strong side linebacker that can cover, that can blitz, that can, do a lot of different things, and then a couple big physical middle linebackers that have different. Like it's a 3-4
in the traditional 3-4, old school 3-4 that we know it to be. Like your two outside linebackers are basically the guys that get the sacks.
Yeah.
You get some from your middle guys if when they do some stunts and do some zone blitzing and stuff like that. But yeah, traditionally your big sack pressure numbers come from the two outside guys.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting. That's to me, just watching it, like I'm not as worried in this defense about one of the three down linemen being an upfield, like a dominant upfield guy, because I just feel like in this defense, they're there, stop the run game and occupy a whole lot of space so that blitzers can just fly in from all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my take on what I've seen.
Yep, I agree.
I mean, I don't think it's like, I don't know, maybe you do. I don't think it's like a Pittsburgh 3-4. It kind of reminds me of like a Belichick, like a New England 3-4.
I know. I mean, I have to watch it a lot more to. I mean,
yeah, that's fair.
I watched the bowl game, and I don't think that's a great representation of it, just because I think they understood what they could do.
Yeah.
So it was like, in the truest sense or in a traditional sense of from a week in and week out base. I did the other night. I have insomnia sometimes, and I was up at like 3 and caught some of the Wake Forest Louisville game from last year where Wake Forest turned the ball over on the first 5 possessions of the second half.
Yeah.
And Louisville scored like 42 points in the third quarter. And I don't even know if that's a great representation either, because like it was just dudes around the end, strip sack, recovery, 20 yards, touchdown. So I mean they're certainly going to bring it, and they're certainly going to bring it from all angles. I just think it helps and will be important to find kind of that, does that person show themselves that you can truly count on to also be, a pass rusher that could threaten double-digit sacks.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna get to the sack numbers, and that might be an outlier with what Louisville did last year, but you're not going to get to the sack numbers like that with a bunch of guys getting 5.
Right. Unless it's everybody.
Well, yeah, but that's unrealistic.
10 guys with 5 sacks?
Yeah.
You don't think that's realistic?
Not on this roster, unless somebody does something that I'm totally not expecting.
Yeah. Don, we'll get to the transfer portal and commitments and all that stuff here shortly. Quarterbacks. What were your thoughts on the quarterbacks?
I mean, Emory had a really nice drive. Brady had a very nice throw. They threw one interception, had one strip sack that I'm not even necessarily going to pin on Ben on the first play. Gresham got around there fairly easily.
Yeah.
I thought they were, again, I thought they were, I don't want to use the word fine. I feel like that's like a throwaway, makes it seem like they were bad. They certainly weren't bad. I'm not sure there was a ton of wow, but again, it's like Emory didn't run. He's not getting hit.
Yeah.
And it's also tough as you're watching the scrimmage, you're talking to people, you're watching the scrimmage, like you're not really paying attention too closely to like what other players are going in and out. So while the quarterbacks and the receivers might be one thing because they're so short at receiver, it's tough to tell who's playing on the line. It's tough to tell who's playing based on where you're maybe standing. for us, being on the field, it's tough to tell who's come in and out on defense. So like, one drive might have been great, but it was against a bunch of backups or something. It's just tough to say. But I thought I thought Emery, Ben, and Brady Jogish all, played pretty well. They all had drives that resulted in touchdowns at the very end of the scrimmage. The offense clearly won. They went 4 for 4 on kind of your short red zone, starting around the 9 or 10, with 3 touchdown passes. So, they probably scored, if you have the Barry Jackson touchdown, you have the one to the backup tight end, you have the one to Jair Thomas, you have the Peyton. So they probably scored 8 touchdowns all told.
Pretty good.
9 touchdowns. So yeah,
considering how much they kind of struggled throughout the spring to move the ball,
right.
Encouraging to see them, be able to string some scores together.
And there wasn't anything like. I mean, they had the one long pass, and it might have been a touchdown too, but I couldn't tell. It was the far. We were in one corner, and it was the total opposite corner. So I couldn't tell if he scored or not. They got called back. But it wasn't like either any of these touchdowns were 5-yard touchdowns that were set up by like one big play where it was a busted coverage or a missed tackle or something. They were either set up specifically for a drill, or they were at the end of a sustained drive.
So I guess here's like the ultimate question. Do you feel better about this roster coming out of the spring than you felt going into it?
Yes. I do. For a couple of reasons. I feel better about where the offensive line is.
I thought they run block really well so far, and that's without Kandra back yet.
Yeah, I mean, they would have given up, several sacks, but again, it's 125 plays. Some of that might have been the threes. So it's like, I thought they played. I'm still concerned about the overall depth and just the week in, week out of the Big 12. I think, Emery's performance leaves you wanting a lot more and being like, where was that most of the spring? But it's still encouraging that in the game situation against, first/second string defenders, he played well. I think Ben's put them in a tough spot coming back from an injury that normally takes 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, when you're bringing in Emory Jones or any other quarterback, you're probably doing it under the expectation that this other guy isn't going to really see the field until after spring practice.
Yeah, I mean, like, we thought the reality was we felt there was a good chance that Ben would be doing like some 1-on-1 and 7-on-7 throwing. But there was literally, and this is from talking to Ben, like in January, seeing him on campus, there was no expectation from even him that he was going to be able to be live by the spring game. That just didn't seem possible, 4 months ago, and there he was.
Really not, because that's not that's really, that's really no diagnosis of that recovery time would lead anyone to believe that was going to be something attainable. So I think, we've talked the receiver thing forever. I mean, I think you have a couple guys that can be solid starters for you. You have a couple guys that you hope to continue to develop, but by no means, I don't see like if we're just going off of the last couple of years, not the receiver in the sense of like body or style or anything. I'm just talking about role. Like, I don't see a Tyler Scott. I don't see an Alec Pierce.
Which, to be fair, one's early second round pick, the other one probably going to be a day 2 pick,
But I
potentially
just
a second
mean,
round pick.
in like their role for the team.
I know, but I'm saying those are lofty names to say I don't see one of those, because guess what? Prior to Alec Pierce and Tyler Scott, when was the last day 2 or day 1 wide receiver on this roster?
That's not what I'm saying, though. I'm just saying, who's the guy that you're like, this is our bona fide, definite number one?
D.
Go.
Wiggins.
Okay. I mean, he didn't.
He had a quiet spring game, but he was loud all spring when he didn't.
Right.
Yeah, he was out because he landed on his ass real hard and missed a week. But that would be that. Like, that's the one guy that looks different than the others. But I agree on the rest. Like, it's gonna be interesting to see where that room goes.
And I don't know if that necessarily gets that person. I mean, the real reality of that person's probably not in the spring portal. You're probably just building depth and adding more like viable options, which can elevate the room as a whole anyway. Like, this room, for as nice as he was and as some steps that he took, like, Barry Jackson can't be your 3 if you want to have a successful offensive season. Like, he can be your 6. But you need some more dudes that have done it. You know, whether it's only 1 year, whether it's 2 years, and they've got 30 career catches and 2 we need more volume of guys that have seen a college defense, truly understand route concepts. All of those things that go into gaining experience. Like, they just need more of those guys. And if Barry Jackson keeps going and going, and he moves into that world, then great. But I'm not sure you want to be counting on that, because you're counting on him as things stand right now.
Right. You are. I mean, it's him and Leslie Ando in the slot. And Leslie Ando had a good spring, but
right. But let's keep our expectations in line with reality. Like, because you had a nice spring
with no other options,
has
really.
8 you're the one of the only 2. Right. Yeah. Unless you were awful, you would have had a nice spring, because there would have been no one else to be better than you.
Right. Exactly. Precisely.
So, I mean, those are kind of, I mean, my overall kind of, and it's still early because they are going to add some pieces in the portal, and it does take time to understand what you're doing, especially offensively, with a totally different scheme for the returning guys. I don't think my overall like expectations really changed. I feel a little bit better about the offense, but it's still going to come down to quarterback play and what happens with the offensive line and wide receivers. Like, I feel good that they're going to be able to run block fairly well. They're going to be able to run the ball fairly well. But what kind of play do we get from who's the quarterback and what happens at wide receiver?
Yeah, all important parts as things come into play, for sure. I don't know. That's about should call him the mayor. Why should Barry Jackson? Am I missing a joke there?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, Jerry. That's what he's getting at, I think.
Oh.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you, brother. Let's get to the ins and outs of the spring.
The ins and outs. Well, there's been some outs, and there hasn't been any ins yet.
Oh, I mean, they've had 5 commitments in the past.
Oh, I thought you meant for this team coming in. These guys aren't on this team. So
no, not yet. Well, I mean, the portal's you're not going to see anybody committing quite yet. The thing just opened up on Saturday.
Yeah, there's been a couple guys, but they were in the portal already.
Well, and when those happened, those were done before they entered the portal.
Baylor just got a defensive end tonight. It's a good ad, but he was in the portal previous. He didn't just jump in on Saturday.
Right. So it's going to take a little bit of time before we figure out what the direction is in terms of portal additions. But on the outs, since we last convened, I got it, Tom. I got you. I was thinking of a Barry connection. I was like, I don't Barry the mayor, like Sean Casey was the mayor. Jaheim Thomas goes in. A pretty big loss, especially for depth at linebacker. I have not spoken to Jaheim since he's gone in. I wonder how much of that is. It's tough for those guys, man, that he missed the entire spring with a back injury. I don't know where in that first unit he fit. I mean, I think they feel pretty confident with Dorian Jones and Jack Dingle in the middle, and Greshik and Jamal Williams and, Tyler Gillison seem to be kind of comfortable in that dog position. So, yeah. I mean, I wonder if that was just a matter of like, okay, like I'll be back from this back injury, but where do I fit when I come back?
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, where do you fit in? Did you get passed? Did you just not fit into the scheme, so to speak? Like, I think in this new scheme, he was kind of a tweener.
I mean, I imagine they listed him as an outside linebacker. I imagine he would have been in that, stand up, weak side linebacker, rush end, like whatever you want to call it. I would guess that's where he would have been. And they seem pretty happy with Greshik right there.
Yeah. So like if you played a lot last year, if you're possibly going to be a more reserve role this year, even a
1B, even if you're just a 1B, like I can see where you're like, I didn't sign up for this kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
So look, there's no downplaying here. It's a significant decision, but I think it comes at a place that they already feel pretty good. Like where would you be concerned? Like if Shaman, as thin as they already all are at tight end, if even a Peyton Singletary, like one of those guys that you're going to have to count on at tight end enters the portal, I think maybe you don't hit the panic button, but you got your hand like on it. Ooh. Linebacker, it impacts the depth, and you hate to lose a guy that had 70 tackles last year and was third on the team. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it makes a major dent on what the front of this roster looks like, at least according to what the spring looked like.
Right. I agree.
But I love Jaheim. He was a great kid. I enjoyed talking to him. Always friendly. Always had a smile on his face. So not having him in the program is definitely.
I was looking forward to seeing him in the defense. Now, I don't know if we're not privy to a lot, so who knows how that transit. But it just seemed to me, from a way outside perspective, that he had a role, that he could have a role and flourish in this style. But such is the portal, man.
And look, I think right now 24/7's got him as the number 7 transfer in the country. Like he's gonna have lots of options. So more power to him.
Oh yeah.
I mean, anymore, like as long as the guy isn't a problem, if he gives you what he's got, and at some point before his career's over, he enters the portal, you just kind of tip your cap because that's just it's just how things go anymore. A couple defensive backs also enter as well. The main one being Armorion Smith, who missed, another guy that missed, and I think all of these guys, Jonah Lido didn't, but the other three guys missed most, if not all, of the spring. Armorion was not out there for a couple different reasons. I was excited about Armorion. I love a kid that can hit like Armorion hits. But honestly, if we're talking about what happened while he was out, BJ Taylor kind of jumped up and looked like he was going to be a main guy at that safety spot. You got a good look at Taj Ward back there. He played well. Brian Threats is going to be a starter. The part where maybe, you start to get concerned depth-wise is at safety. Jack Dingle broke his neck, so you would assume we probably won't see him this year. If we do, it won't be for a while. Isaiah Cox, I thought, had a little bit of a better swing to elevate his name into that mix. But you don't have a ton of options right now at safety, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see, somebody in that room added here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, that would not surprise me at all. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think it makes when there is a coaching change and you miss the bulk or all of the spring practice, like,
I mean, these are two guys that were in the same boat.
And the transfer portal is a thing now. Like, if a new staff brought somebody in at your position or at a similar position and they try him out at a position because you're hurt and that guy does well and you're not there, like, they didn't bring you in, like, they're gonna go with the guy that they thought was, that they needed to bring in. So it's just kind of how it goes. I mean, I think Coach Satterfield, I mean, he's been pretty blunt about it, talking about having meetings with everybody and laying out expectations, and then that's up to you then, more times than not.
Right.
What you're what is okay with you. But yeah, I mean, it's a totally different defense. It's a totally different coaching staff. Like, and especially now that you can, freely move, like, there's always going to be a bunch of movement. I mean, you look around the country and there's some other programs and that did not have coaching changes. I mean, I know, and it's not all apples to apples, but like Texas A&M has had 26 scholarship players enter the portal since December.
Right.
So it's just the way of the sport right now. And it gets amplified when you have a coaching change.
Yep, for sure. So the other two, Malik Rainey, I liked what I saw from him when he first got here. Kind of never moved his way up the depth chart. And then Jonah Lytle never really got off the ground. So it hurts depth in that corner room, but, not to disrespect either of those guys, but if there wasn't a chance that they could see the field or they hadn't had a chance to move up the roster going into year 3 or whatever, like, that's about the breaking point, right? In this new world, Dave. If you go through 2 years and you make it to your third, going into the third year through the spring, and you're not on the 2 deep, I don't know what to tell you. It's probably time for both sides to go in a different direction.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not on the 2 deep with the old staff, and a new staff comes in, like,
and you're still not on the 2 deep after the spring,
good luck. I mean,
it's probably best for both sides.
yeah,
That's just, it is what it is.
And I think it's great for them. Like, before, if that happened, you're either sticking it out and burning another year,
Yeah.
or you're transferring and you're sitting out.
Right.
Like, and that's not right either.
Right. Football recruiting.
There's been a couple commits.
In the last, 3 days, we have seen the highest rated recruit in the composite in UC history, Clay Birdsong, who is in the composite.
I'm just going to call him Birdman.
Birdman, yeah.
That's one of my rappers.
172 nationally in the composite, the number 16 linebacker in the country, the number 26 player in the state of Georgia, which I love your new thing that you talk about where you take players from a state like Georgia, and number 26 in Georgia is equivalent to what, number 7 you said in Ohio? Uh-oh.
Yeah, 7 in Georgia and 7th in the Ohio.
You're freezing up on us here right now.
Yeah, I know. It's not my VPN. My internet sucks right now.
Okay, no worries.
So
he's in the
connection is unstable.
6'2", 195. If you look at him, he's got a nice frame to where, he reminds, what he reminds me of? He reminds me of a Marcus Freeman guy, where he's in that range where he could grow into a lot of different things. He could be what they call the star position, where he plays in coverage. If he bulks up, he can play in the middle. If he gets real big, he can play at the dog position, rushing the passer. Just a lot of different ways you could see this kid developing. And for me, that's always, that versatility of let's see what he becomes working in your favor. And I think that's what you get with this kid.
For sure. I mean, he's a speed player right now, and who knows what happens. I mean, guys develop and, if you do a linebacker to a defensive end. So, I mean, who knows? But he seems like he, fits in that star or some sort of edge presence, outside linebacker, get him up to 215, 220, something like that. I mean, if his 195 number is pretty accurate, I mean, does he really have the frame to get to a much bigger, ton bigger? Who knows? I mean, there's 17, 16 years old. But it's a speed element that they're gonna just try to keep him on board, get him signed, and then figure it out. I mean, you never know. These dudes are just like on a totally different level though anymore.
Yeah,
like the way they come in as developed as they are, and with some of the speed numbers and everything that they put up, it's hilarious to me.
Gavin Grover, 4 days ago, whatever it is, was one of the first ones of this rush to get in the fold. 6'6", 220, beat out Kentucky and West Virginia. Kind of in the mold of what we've seen, have a lot of success here in terms of size at tight end, and a kid that did his homework because he talked after his commitment about, Cincinnati's a place that has churned out a lot of great tight ends, and I kind of want to be a part of that.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting because it's kind of independent of who the coaches are.
Right.
It's not just like this head coach or this tight end coach been there forever and he's got a lot of and he's put a lot of tight ends in the draft. Like UC has just been blessed with a lot of productive tight ends. So yeah, I mean, if those numbers are real and he's a junior at 6'6", 220, Like that's
pretty good.
That's a fun weapon to play with and see what he can become for sure.
I've got the 220 down, just not quite the 6'6".
I'd like to have the 220 down. It's gonna take a little work.
It'll have to wait until after you get back from Vegas.
Yes. Oh no, I'm gonna start summer conditioning in Vegas.
Yeah, don't know you're taking a weekend off. He gets upset when guys get days off. And then he was joined by Dakari Anderson on the 16th, 5'8", I would assume slot receiver from down in Georgia. They're the number 85 player in Georgia, which is still like top 30 something in Ohio.
Yeah, I think he was like 23 to 25.
Yeah,
he's interesting.
Fast. He is fast.
I mean, and that's the same thing with Cale Woodburn that committed today. Like there is a dearth of speed on this roster overall, not just at wide receiver position, that they really need to increase. But like it was interesting watching his tape because he's more than likely a slot guy for us in college or wherever he goes to college. But they lined him up everywhere. I give a lot of credit to their offensive coaches. They were pretty innovative, using a lot of college and pro concepts. They had him outside. They had him in the slot. They had him in the backfield. They had him as an H-back almost, behind the tight end. Like they used him a lot, threw him the ball out of the backfield, threw him the ball out of the H-back role. Like not a lot of gadget plays with him on this tape. It was real ass routes from all the positions, and a guy that seems to be pretty developed in just plain wide receiver. And I'm not going to assume that he's going to really ever go outside the numbers at the college level.
Sure.
But when you learn the spatial awareness and you understand angles and you understand positioning and things like that for the entire field, I think it just makes you a way better player and a way more advanced player when you do get to college.
Yeah, and this is an offense that's going to use those gimmick guys. Like the gadget, not gimmick, gadget is probably a better word. The jet sweeps, the tosses, the tunnel screens, like they like doing a lot of that stuff in this offense because this offense is about stretching the field and keeping the defense spread out. And the more guys you can get, now I'm not saying you want to have 5 of them on your roster, but like, I don't know. I don't think Barry Jackson is like a little tiny shifty slot receiver. I mean,
the slot, we'll call it old school slot isn't even a thing anymore. You got power slot. I mean, Tyler Boyd's a power slot. Xavier Hutchinson from Iowa State going into the draft this year was the Fred Biletnikoff winner last year. He's a power slot. Like 5'8".
I think Tyler Scott's a slot receiver in the NFL.
Tyler Scott is a slot that can also play outside. Like, we bemoaned the fact that Trey Tucker didn't get enough of the quote unquote. Yeah, I did. I'm just saying we as fans.
Okay.
Like didn't get the ball in his hand as much as I would have liked. In just whatever various ways that you can do that. So thank you.
I just was making sure you didn't have a mouse in your pocket.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Why would I have a mouse in my pocket?
You said we. I was figuring out who we was.
Oh, we, the collective.
You and the mouse in your pocket.
Bearcat Nation.
Okay, gotcha. You and Aaron.
And 20,000 other people. But yes, I think those they need. Yes, Barry Jackson can play slot. I'm not sure he is a slot in the old world. We'll call it the old world sense. But even if he is, okay, so now next year you got 4. and one's a walk-on. Like, it's still not enough.
Right.
Because these guys, and Woodburn's the same, like, they can kind of play everywhere, and they're not necessarily going to do that. You're going to try to get your 6'1", 6'2", D. Wiggins, Donovan Ollie, Alec Pierce's,
Sure. This staff has shown they like big outside wide receivers. They're just, look, I'm going to let you speak on this because you've posted about it. Not enough speed on this roster.
There's not enough speed on this roster, period, let alone at wide receiver. Like, if they want to add some more dudes, I don't really care what they look like as long as they're fast as shit, because there's just, especially going into next year, like, D. Wiggins and Donovan Ollie are gone after this year, I think. I don't know. I feel like,
who knows?
Who knows?
I don't know.
But either way, like,
they could have 4 years left. They could have no years left. I don't know.
They just need wide receivers, and I'm sure they're not going to add 10, 5'9" guys. So they, I'm totally cool with the way that this has started, because they need speed. These guys have at least shown me in the very, very little bit that I've checked out of them that they are more than just like the quickest guy on the field, and we're only going to run screens and reverses and stuff like that with them. They're much more advanced than that.
The other thing you love to see is guys that are so fast that the camera can't keep up with them in their high school games.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they might need better cameramen, but yes, they're on both of their videos. They have just plays where they just outrun the camera guy.
Natalie says Dave speaks on behalf of many.
I'm the voice of the people, Natalie.
And Tonk says, according to On3, and I'll just tell you, Tonk, if we wanted to be associated with On3, I'd have moved the network to On3.
Who is Helton?
Keyshawn. Like that thing is not real, Tonk.
That's
that
just
is
like
a.
Oh, you're talking about like the value?
Yeah. That is not real. That has nothing to do with how much money they got.
How would they possibly know that?
They don't.
Right.
They just know he came from Florida State, so he must have been expensive, hypothetically.
How would you know that for every player that enters the portal?
Yeah, that's if I thought all that, like, I love Shannon Terry. The stuff that they're doing now is the most clickbait, silly shit I've ever seen. Like the NIL tracker, and like they have a crystal ball, but it's not really a crystal ball. It just is like an algorithm of a kid visits somewhere, so he gets a lot of hype.
Yeah,
from that school,
like the Estrada one that he was crystal ball to Ole Miss, and then he never even like visited Ole Miss.
Right.
And then when he came here, it was up, wasn't it? Now he's crystal ball.
Now it's like 97% Cincinnati, and like that stuff. There's no substance to it. It's just for show. It's just for clicks. Tonk, you owe whatever Helton's worth on On3 was to BCJ for that comment.
I agree.
Okay. But like, just be careful when you're looking at stuff like that to understand a lot of it is just created to get you to click on it, because everybody wants to see their school mentioned, or, it is an algorithm that is looking to not abuse, but like take advantage of your curiosity as a fan. That's the whole reason that those things are there. There's no actual substance to any of it. BCJ equals the truth. Thank you, fake John Goble. I would just, we try really hard to be honest with you guys. Like, it apparently is a lot more rare in this industry than I would like to believe.
I just don't have time. I don't have time to generate nonsense.
Right. Well, that too. That's a part of it as well. But I don't have the patience to like put out some bullshit and then deal with the repercussions of putting out bullshit.
Right.
And half the time, the stuff that I put out, like when you're being honest, is stuff that nobody wants to hear. And then they get pissed off at me because I just put out the truth of something that, like I'm not expecting this kid to come to UC. And then I deal with, the next 6 hours and 175 posts on the topic, people losing their shit. When I could have just not said anything.
Let's not throw my football people into this conversation. Don't sully the good names of the Carson Field board. I wanted to have someone make, what was that? I don't even know if it's a GIF. It's that image you see on Twitter where it's like they're riding in the bus and the one person's looking out the one window and it's all sunny, and then the other person. I want someone to make that for me where it says like Carson Field board and that person's just looking out and it's all sunshine.
Everything's great and delightful.
Yeah, and then the other one is just, it's raining sideways.
Jucker Court.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
Don't drag my people into this.
Hold on, I gotta let the dog in.
All right. Well, we let's see, who else then? So then what? This morning or early this afternoon, you had Simeon Coleman, linebacker, St. Francis Academy in Baltimore, same school as Brian Sims, who's a freshman. He actually went to DeMatha before he transferred to St. Francis.
Quick note on that.
Yes.
I thought Brian Sims looked really good.
Dude, freaking jacked.
Yeah. Like for a true freshman, early enrollee, Brian Sims caught my attention. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. For sure. Mine as well. But Coleman, the thing that jumps off the screen to me with him is he is a middle linebacker thumper through and through. I think first clip of his huddle, he just freaking just decleats a guy. So he's gonna add some weight, obviously, but he's your inside the box, shut down the run, take on the guards. Interior linebacker.
Thumper, right, Dave? That's what we call them, thumpers.
Well, he's a thumper, all right.
Any idea what kind of ranking Woodburn would get?
No, not really.
Not yet. I know this. My guy Tom Loy is familiar with the kid and thinks it was a big get for Cincinnati. Tom Loy runs the Notre Dame side. He helps on the national side. At a lot of these camps and combines and 7-on-7 events. If Tom Loy is high on him, then I'm pretty high on him. Because Tom usually doesn't throw out superlatives unless they carry some merit.
Right, like he's not commenting on a kid that committed to non-Notre Dame, very often. Unless he's seen him or heard of it, I think, to go deeper into that, the ranking, I don't know how they come up with them, but I know some of it has to do with like projections to the NFL, which part of me thinks is dumb.
Part of it, yes.
Because they're 16, 17 years old, so how the hell can you possibly know? But in this case, like a 5'8" guy, he's going to get dinged strictly because of that, because, there's not a ton of those guys in the NFL. So He might be an exceptional high school player and he might be an exceptional college player, but at least some portion of the evaluation process is a projection. So, purely guessing, I would say maybe a little bit higher than Dakari Anderson. Like, I don't know. But, I think, something right in that realm of, like, top 100-ish receiver in the country.
Yeah, like what, 86, 87?
87, yeah, it's at 87.5, something. We're literally guessing, but,
I think more importantly than rating, you are dealing with a roster right now that needs speed in a major way. And I think it's pretty clear the scouting staff has been advised to go find some as much as they can. And I think they have done a pretty good job of that with these two receivers.
Yes.
And then we'll see what happens tomorrow.
I don't know if I've watched. I think I watched a little bit of what. Well, is it tomorrow or Friday?
I don't know.
Someone might need an updated calendar.
Apparently, when it comes to 420 Dave, things get a little.
Yeah, Friday, April 20th is not a thing.
No, it is not.
But I don't know if I've watched. I know I've watched a good bit of Dakari's tape. There's been so much.
Woodburn looks pretty similar.
I don't know if I've watched it, but yes, I think I watched a few clips at the beginning, and he was just running past people. Their levels are, 4, 5A, which is kind of like 7A is the biggest in Georgia.
So like middle of the pack, yeah.
They're like Division 2, Division 3-ish types, the way we look at it. But that's still like Houston County, Warner Robins, like that's a pretty developed area now. Houston County's got an offensive lineman that UC's after. I'm sure adding Woodburn doesn't hurt. I'm sure adding Anderson doesn't hurt. Perry is just a little south of Warner Robins, so in all likelihood, his name is Khalil House, which is a great offensive lineman name.
Yes.
Phenomenal. I'm sure adding Birdsong doesn't hurt. Like, I know everybody wants to recruit Ohio, and I do too, but like the 2024 class isn't that great, and a lot of the best players are already committed to Michigan or Ohio State. And if you just look at demographics and population movement, like Georgia is booming out of control. So like we said earlier, if you can get, the 26th best player in the state of Georgia, that's like a top 10 guy in Ohio. And there's other elements that go into that. And are guys potentially more at risk to transfer? Are they more at risk to decommit? Of course they are. But, if you want to go where the players are, where you have the connections. And I don't think by any stretch that they're ignoring Ohio. Like, I mean, you have 2 out of 7 guys are committed or from Ohio. I know that we know they're recruiting several others, but you also can't waste your time, and you got to go where you have guys that you can get. And I think this staff is going to be super strong in Georgia and strong in South Carolina.
For sure. And potentially North Carolina as well.
Yeah.
They don't produce as much talent in North Carolina. But...
they're starting to, though. I mean, like, if you can go in and get guys out of South Carolina, out of North Carolina, like, North Carolina is a tough spot to recruit, too, because they have a lot of good players.
And they have a bunch of schools.
They have a bunch of schools, but there's no, like, dominant in-state school. So everybody goes there to recruit because they feel like they can pull guys out of there because there's no Tennessee, there's no Clemson, South Carolina, there's no Virginia Tech, there's no Georgia. Like, so, a lot of teams go in there trying to recruit.
All right, here you go, Dave.
Yes.
Thoughts on Qua visiting UCF?
I literally have none. Like, it's April of going into a senior year. Take as many visits as you want, man. Like, that's... And I understand the whole point. Like, well, then why did you commit in the first place? I understand that side of it, but... Like, it doesn't bother me. Like, he felt good enough to commit to UC for whatever reason. Now it's on them to make him stick to that and not get beat out by somebody else. And he's almost a 93 rating. He's well inside the top 247. Like, UC is a new, still considered to a lot of people, a new emerging program. There's going to be questions from other staffs like, yeah, all that stuff they did before, that was fickle, and that was because they were in the AAC. Now it's going to be much harder. You're going to go there. You're going to lose a bunch of games, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just part of the deal. and you just
And
got to
look, you can speak as a guy that has followed Tennessee for a long time. This fan base, and some people aren't going to like to hear this, but this fan base has a long way to go when it comes to understanding what recruiting at the top of the sport really feels like.
They do. I will say though, like, I don't begrudge anybody for being why the hell would you commit then? But like, we are going to be in, or we want to be in, like, legitimate, like, knockout, drag out battles with high level players, and you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Guys are going to commit, they're going to decommit. You're going to do the same thing. That's the part that always cracks me up. Is like, you get mad at the player for committing and then visiting, but if a player committed to, Michigan State last week and now he visits UC this week, we'd all be like, hell yeah, like, time to flip him. Like, you can't have it both ways.
This staff's recruiting their ass off.
Look at him going after these committed dudes. Like, you can't have it both ways.
You can't.
You either get mad when he commits and then visits UCF, and then you say, I don't. Then when UC does it, you say, I don't want that guy because he's already committed, and we need to honor and respect his decision. We know that's not going to happen. So
no. This is something I do want to bring up. And I think Aaron and I we might get to this on the nightcap tonight, but I wanted to touch on it here a little bit about the new thing coming out where guys are there's not going to be a limit of 5 official visits. You can official visit however many schools you want, or however many, essentially. But here's what it comes down to. You can visit however many schools are willing to pay for you.
Right.
To official visit.
Like,
I think
you don't
that's
just
the
call
part.
the school and say, hey, I'm official visiting this weekend. Buy my plane ticket. I'm coming in.
Plane ticket, hotel,
right.
Steak dinner, another steak dinner, a couple lunches, a breakfast, not just for you, but for you and your family. It's
which I'm fine with.
I don't mind.
I think you should be able, like, why should there be a limit? If someone is willing to bring you in, then they should be allowed to bring you in. Now, I do wonder, with committed guys, do staffs get more apprehensive of being like, is this guy really considering us? Like, we haven't really talked to him that much. Like, we're not necessarily recruiting him super hard, and he calls us and he wants to come in for an official. Is he really thinking about flipping his commitment, or is he just looking to check out, school X?
Yeah, and then there's, like, everybody always like, I just go visit Hawaii. Sure.
Hawaii's not going to pay for you. Not going to pay for you to just go visit Hawaii.
Is there a chance you're going to commit to Hawaii? Well, no. But I'd like to go to Hawaii, so I think you guys should pay for it.
Right.
Look, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money being thrown around at the highest level of college athletics right now. There's still not enough money where recruiting departments and football programs are just going to bankroll unlimited official visits for kids that aren't going to go to that school.
Like, you've been committed to Ohio State for 9 months, and now you want to come on an official visit to Texas? Like, I'm not sure, like, we're going to pay for that, because we're probably not going to change your mind.
Yeah. It's,
I think there's probably more overreaction to it than what will actually, like, play out. Like, I'm just not envisioning particular kids, because, like, if you're a high level kid and you make a decision, more times than not, because you've been on a lot of unofficial visits and you're sticking to it. If you're a medium level kid, like, you're not having like 30 programs banging down your door to get you to come official. So, like, who are the ones that are going to take these 10, 15 official visits that that you envision by allowing them to have unlimited visits. Like maybe I'm being naive. I'm just not sure I'm seeing where this becomes like some process.
Yeah. A lot of recruits angling for Tuesday night vacations to Lubbock. Yeah, it's just getting back home is hard. It's all, like getting to Lubbock, it's fine. It's getting home from Lubbock that's really hard.
Getting out of there, that's the problem.
It's Hotel Lubbock. You can check out anytime you'd like, but you can never leave.
unless you like get in trouble for saying stuff to your players. Then apparently you can leave because they ask you to.
Well,
what's up, Jack?
Trust the process. Good to have you, brother. Good to see you.
Special guest sometime.
You're more than welcome anytime, Jack. But yeah, I mean, I just don't I see people talking about it, and I guess that like the first thing a fan thinks is the guy's going to go on 15 official visits now.
Because that's what they would do.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Hell yeah, you're damn right.
Yeah, I want to come in town let me come in for the Texas-Alabama game, and then I'm going to go to the Ohio State, UCLA game, and then I think the next week I'm going to go check out Clemson, whoever they're playing. Then I'm going to go down to the swamp and check out Florida and Oklahoma.
That would be great.
Yeah.
If you have that juice,
you just have
more power to you.
A road trip every weekend of the college football season.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. If I was the number one player, that's exactly what I would do. I would sit down with my family like right now. The schedules are out. Everybody knows what the games are.
What games do you guys want to go to?
Yeah. Let's go. We're going to go to all of them. All of them. Me and the crew. Watch coaches require recruits to post a top 10 graphic with their school in it for an official. Keegan, we got a lot to teach you, son. 7 of those coaches know they have no shot. Yeah. The top 10. Well, here's the funny part. Let's break down what a top 10 really looks like. There's 4 schools that the kid is not going to go to when they put out a top 10. There's 3 schools that the school is not going to take the kid. And then
there's schools that aren't even recruiting the kid that are on
I'm being kind. In a top 10, generally, there's 4 schools the kid has there's no chance the kid's going to go to that school. And there's 3 schools that the kid, to put it mildly, the kid doesn't have a committable offer. And then there's 3 schools in the middle that are the actual 3 schools that are trying to land the kids.
It's a marketing ploy to make other people think that you're more popular than you are. And so it's like, oh, well, if all these schools want this guy, then maybe we should want him too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically the Vince Morrow angle of handing out offers.
This should be a class at UC. I don't think they'd ever let me do that, Keegan. You did one podcast with us, and you walked away going, what did I get myself into? I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it as a thing that's going to make like major waves.
Nah.
Kids can now take unlimited.
I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2 stories, but like
yeah. Most of the time they don't take 5.
And yes, you have more time to do it now. They've opened up the windows more, but like you see less and less guys taking official visits during their season. So
yeah, there's no point in that anymore.
When are you going to? And coaches don't really want official visits in season anymore.
No, not during the season. It's impossible.
That used to be a huge thing. Like, oh, who's coming in for the big game? But you want more unofficial visits from the future classes just to get them in your stadium, get them to experience your game day versus having to host and do the Friday night dog and pony show and then hang out with them after a game that you just got, what are you waving?
UC has a beer tasting class?
Oh, well, maybe I need to re-enroll.
Like, time out. Stop what we're doing.
I get another degree.
Stop what we're doing. UC has a beer tasting class. Where do I enroll? How much?
This one's good. It's cold. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's can it be taken remotely? I love you, Natalie.
I don't want them to take it remote. I want them to pay for my beer.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. If it's remote, you're probably going to have to pay for your own beer to take the class, unless they give you a stipend or something.
I did take History of Rock at UT.
Beer, wine, music of the Beatles. History of Rock, did you pass?
I did pass that one.
I did pass that one.
Not History of Actual Rocks. I didn't pass that.
No.
I passed History of Rock and Roll.
Rock and, yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, the visits timing is more open now, but I don't think I think it's even shorter when guys are actually taking visits.
Royer's a tutor for the beer drinking class. Be careful, you might end up in the hospital. Oh, that's great. That's great. Can I help you?
Look, I'm wearing a hair coffee.
Okay, that's great. You got your home field apparel Colorado shirt on. It's nice. You want to show the people what the home field Colorado shirt looks like?
She probably ignores you all night except the 2 hours you're on the podcast.
No, like 9:30 is like when she used to talk to her mom. So 9:30 is when she expects me to be free to speak to her until she goes to bed at 10. So yeah, we're gonna have to rearrange or have Aaron fill in for like 10 minutes from 9:30 to 9:45. Can you take him out? Make sure he's good. Bear should be good. He was out for a while.
Okay.
Thanks.
Come on, Tiger.
Kelsey is Team Dion. No, actually, it just
Let's go.
as part of my payment from home field, I just had him send me a bunch of stuff for Kelly and Kelsey from the contract that we had. They were like, "I'll send you money," and I was like, just send the girls shirts. Random home field apparel. So they got a bunch of that. Basketball, not a ton going on at the moment, but there is important news as Simas Lukosius, the Butler transfer, will be arriving. I thought it was going to be tomorrow night. I think the schedule kind of adjusted because there's an open eval weekend. So he'll be here tomorrow afternoon, early afternoon, and be here until Saturday morning. And it is his last scheduled visit. He went to Oklahoma State. He just got back to Indianapolis from BYU, and then he'll do Cincinnati tomorrow through the day, Friday, and then head out of town Saturday morning. This is a big one. Double-digit scorer in the Big East last year. Really, probably Butler's best offensive player a season ago. And a guy that I think that fits where this roster is at really well. Any thoughts on Simas, Dave?
I'm at a loss with Linus, Sinus, whatever.
Sinus.
I have not watched much of his tape, to be quite honest. I know it's late to say this. You did mention a player's name that certainly
I had
made
this
me
mentioned to
perk
me. This was not my
but
comparison.
that's what I mean. I'm not attributing this to you. I'm just saying you mentioned that there was a comparison made to Jaime Jaquez of UCLA, who, with that question over the last couple years, has been my favorite non-Bearcat player in college basketball. So, because he is a guy that I thought would have made a great all-time Bearcat, the way that he played reminded me of so many great players of recent history. And if this guy commits to UC and is anywhere near as impactful as Jaime was to UCLA the last 2 years, I will be very, very happy. Now, do you feel that is a relative comparison? Maybe not like skill level equal, but like, are they the same types of players?
I think they're similar. I did tell the coach that told me that, easy, Tiger. Yeah, calm down. Let's chill out. Let's maybe not jump to conclusions quickly on that one. But I get it. Like, he's crafty. He can shoot it. He can really pass. He can handle it. He's a bit of a tweener. Defense would be a concern, but I think right now, looking at this group, they need offense. And this is a guy that can be a really good player on the offensive end of the floor. So I think it would be a critical addition. He have that
dog in him.
He looks to have that dog in him. Like, I unless you watch somebody a lot, like a lot, I don't think you really know.
Right.
I didn't look. I did not watch a lot of Butler this year.
Like, that guy could pick me up tomorrow morning to take me to the airport, and I wouldn't have any idea who he was.
Except for the fact that he's like 6'6" and 225, I think you might be like,
yeah, but I wouldn't be like, oh shit, you're the dude from Butler,
right?
Like, I would not, like, I would have no idea.
You could cross paths in the morning at CVG and would not think twice about who you just walked past.
No, I wouldn't have a clue. I'd be like, oh, that guy's kind of tall. Maybe he plays basketball.
Right. I do think he would be a fit. Like, I do think he is something like I'll just say it. I think he's a better Jeremiah Davenport.
Yeah.
And you're replacing Jeremiah Davenport in the heart, like he was the sixth man. So if he's a little better than Jeremiah Davenport, maybe he's the third or fourth guy. So
are we still, and obviously things can change. I'm not going to hold you to comments that other people will probably hold you to. But, like, is he a top of the roster Big 12 guy, or are we still kind of searching for that?
I don't know that he is the top of the roster Big 12 guy, but
right.
I think he's a top 3 guy on your team Big 12 guy.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe top 4, but yeah. So up there.
So yeah,
and that's what this team needs. This
good.
team needs top 3 or 4 guys on the roster in the Big 12.
Is there anyone else that you're allowed to speak on, or is there nobody that's like kind of quite far enough down the road?
Even in the portal. We'll see. As soon as I have names I can share, there will be names I can share. I can promise you that. It is how we make money.
Oh, I know you always do. I know.
I'm just saying we're not there yet.
I might have been out on something, and I don't even know if there is one that's been out there.
No, nothing new yet. But
still keep up on Jucker Court.
Tomorrow's a new day. Who knows? Tomorrow, over the weekend, early next week. We've got till May 11th. I think there's also, like, this is another thing people haven't talked about. Another thing people haven't talked about, Dave, there's guys that have entered the portal and declared for the draft. And right now, like that focus for those guys is where do I stand in the draft process? But at some point, guess what? You retained your eligibility for a reason. Most of those guys are coming back to college. And that'll be at the end of the cycle.
Not where they were before because the other schools, the school that they were at is probably, unless they're
already moved on.
Like they're not a shoo-in to go. They're not a shoo-in to go to the draft, or they wouldn't be doing this.
Right.
So many of those guys is the school that they were at going to sit there and wait necessarily to find out what that answer is.
Right. So we still got a long way to go. Just buckle up. Ride it out. All right. I don't have much else. Do you? Anything else you want to get to?
Our new segment, when is that going to start?
We're ramping that up. I want to get us the product first. So soon, I would think.
All right.
We can talk about it. I can let people know what the new segment is. We're going to be doing a segment. There's a new sponsor coming on board. We're going to be doing a new segment called Bearcat of the Week. And it can be anybody that's a Bearcat. They can be pro sports. We'll probably take nominations like for anything, anybody that was a Bearcat. And we'll do a Bearcat of the Week segment. What do you think, Dave? Do you think we should pick the Bearcat of the Week prior to the segment and just have the Bearcat of the Week? Or do you think we should take submissions, narrow it down to 2 or 3, and then you and I will select the Bearcat of the Week like live on the show every week?
Live on the show every week.
Kelsey says live on the show every week.
Sure.
And I mean,
then we're just going to get like 9 million. We get 20 people giving 20 different names, and
yeah, but you and I will narrow that down to where we're just going to talk about 2 or 3.
I think we should do a Twitter poll because people love Twitter polls. And
you can't do Twitter polls anymore.
What? Why?
Yeah, you have to be verified to respond.
Unless you're verified, you can't answer.
I pay the $8. I don't care.
So it's
everybody's
just
as
going to
cool
be Aaron's going to be the one reply to the Twitter
poll. Not everybody's as cool as Aaron.
I mean, this is part of my job, so it's fine. I don't care.
We're workshopping it still, but we are going to be doing a Bearcat of the Week segment coming up soon, and it is sponsored by a really cool sponsor that I'm excited to get on board.
I will add that the American Athletic Conference Golf Championship starts Friday.
Okay.
So
awesome.
That is the final event of the season. The boys have, I would say, if you asked Coach Martin, the fall has been inconsistent, or the spring season has been inconsistent. They've been in some very, very good fields, but I don't think that they've performed to where they would have liked to. So it'll be interesting to see how they play this weekend down in Florida.
Who are the other main contenders from the American?
Well, let me see. I would guess SMU, but let me pull something up real quick. And I will.
This is great podcasting.
Let's see where some American teams are ranking. It's current. Hell. UC is currently 40th on GolfStat. East Carolina 149th, so they're not very good. Let's see. Where's this? Houston, 49th. So they're right there with the Bearcats. Memphis, 80th. Where's SMU? SMU's always had some good players. SMU, 73rd. So not that great. South Florida, 87th. So I mean, UC should be right there to be a prohibitive favorite to win the tournament. UCF
They are the
71st.
favorite. They should be the favorite.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, Houston's kind of close to them, but other than that, everybody's in the 70s or higher that I've seen. OSU Bearcat 12 is in Oklahoma State. Yeah, they're a golf power, and so is Oklahoma, but we don't have to worry about them anymore because they're going to the SEC. But yes, Oklahoma State's very good. Texas Tech's very good. Kansas State's very good. Actually, let's see. Texas Tech is currently 5th in the country. Oklahoma's 11th. Texas is 14th. Oklahoma State's 20th. Kansas State's 24th. So, yeah. 2 of those schools we don't have to worry about, but the other 3 are top 25 teams right now.
There you go. All right. That's going to wrap it up.
Good, because I need to go to bed.
You enjoy your trip to Vegas. Again, if anybody wants to pop in this weekend, Saturday, 12 to 3, Linneman Funeral Homes in Erlanger. I'm sure Kelly would love to have you pay your respects. So all are welcome. We will see you next week. Special guest, defensive coordinator Brian Brown is lined up. This is the BCJ podcast, brought to you by the Holy Grail, right here on BearcatJournal.com.